Hi Ram, thank you so much for joining us on Blitz Business. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hey Ashish, my pleasure.
Awesome, let's get started. So Ram, tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Sure, Ram Divedi. You can see with my accent, I grew up in France, so my family is from Varanasi, but moved in France when I was a kid. So I grew up there, and I think I will be one of the few people on this podcast who's not from a business background. I studied something a bit original, I would say, which is economic warfare from the French military school. So I don't come at all from engineering or business background. And after my studies, I moved back to India in Delhi. We are in Delhi right now. And so I run two companies, the main one being Pravaig Dynamics with two friends. So I'm the CSO of the company and one of the co-founders. So we make cars, batteries. We also help other companies make cars. So it's a deep tech company, I would say. And I also have a foundation, which is a non-profit foundation, Kutniti Foundation, where we basically help India to have a better perception. And I try to bring the knowledge I got from the French, military economic warfare sphere to India to help protect India a bit more, I would say, from foreign attacks.
Understood. So many questions now coming to my head. So what? Let's talk about the first switch. What made you come back to India from France? Like, what was that transition like? What was your thought process like? You were planning to do something, or how did it?
I think at that time, first, I grew up as an Indian in France. My father is a Pujari, so I grew up in a mandir, a Shivji mandir, but in Paris. My father, for example, he speaks French a bit, but not very, very well. So I was always surrounded by Indian people, or from Hindus from Mauritius or from other parts of the world. And so my father never took French papers or everything. My mother was from French origin, but she passed away when I was very young. So I just grew up with my father and my brother. So we always thought we'll come back to India at some point. We always had that in mind. So it was quite natural to me to come back to India. But the challenge was the fact that in 2009-10, at this time when I moved back to India, India was not in the financial situation it is today. So to work, to do things, it was a bit different, I would say. It was very exciting at this time, but a bit more scary than today because it was less, like now everything is smooth, the ease of business is much easier. India was a tough country at this time, I would say. But yeah, I took a leap of faith and wanted to contribute to the country. I love France. I'm still teaching for 13 years to the same school in France. So I trained thousands of intelligence officers during the last 13 years now. So I like to go there, but I'm happy to be in India and contribute to the growth. And honestly, it's the boom of India right now. So it's the place to be in the world for sure. Even if I was not Indian, I would be happy to work here.
So you were in a military school, or I didn't? Uh, so what was it? It was a military school, you said.
So it's very difficult to explain because this school doesn't exist in India at all, nothing comparable.
Yeah.
So basically, at the end of the Cold War, the French government realized they had no clue what to do with all the intelligence agents that were specialized on Soviet Union and US. So they made a school to train the military intelligence, the police intelligence, and private intelligence in one school. And also the school is open to very few foreign countries. People from like foreign nations. So me, I came as an Indian because it's not about your papers or anything, it's about your blood. So if you're from India, you're accepted. If you're from Japan, from Congo, from Mexico, but some countries it's not possible. You can imagine which countries. And basically, yeah, it's you learn the work of intelligence, I would say. So it's quite a unique school where you have all these mix of people together working in the fields of intelligence.
Well, Ram, I must say it's a very unique combination you have right there. I have so many questions, so I need to first focus on this intelligence piece. So tell us something what you learned there and how was it?
Oh, it was incredible. I really like this time of my life, and I love it so much that I never left. In the sense that I'm teaching now in the school for 13 years. Basically, you learn all the jobs of the intelligence. A big part of the class after goes to French intelligence. Some people become paramilitary people. It was my case at the end of the school. Some people go to private services also. And basically, yeah, you learn from the big foundations of geopolitics, nations, how to destabilize nations, to more direct operations like lobbying. In India, it's not legal, but in Europe, it's very, very popular lobbying in Brussels. You have all the influence, all the psychological warfare, perception warfare, all these kind of asymmetric warfare are very popular these days. Yeah,
And someone can also become a spy, I can imagine.
that's basically what it means. Yeah. But in fact, the word spy doesn't really exist. You have three. So in intelligence, I don't know if it's very known, but you have three types of job. You have collecting information. So all people who are specialists about to collect information. So it can be from internet. It can be white sources. So you find on Google, whatever, gray sources or black sources, which mean you need to hack something to get access to it. And it can be from people. You can get, like information from a network of sources of people who will bring you information. So that's the first job in intelligence, collecting information. The second job is analyzing them. So it's people who are, like analyzing information, trying to draw lines. You never have an information that comes directly to you. You always need to identify what we call low signals. So you will have a lot of like hints coming from there and there. But if you put all the hints together, you can create a bigger picture. That's mostly how it works. And then you have action, which is what I always preferred. It's then you are, like on the field, and you try to have an operation to change things. That's where it becomes interesting, and you can change things. That's why I think also in India there is one thing which is a bit weird, is we call geopolitician a lot of people who are geopolitologues. If you go on talk shows, in TVs, on podcasts, everything, a lot of people talk about geopolitics, but they are not geopoliticians. They are geopolitologues. That means they study geopolitics, but they don't do it. They don't practice operations of geopolitics. So me, I'm a geopolitician. I don't read books about geopolitics. I do it.
So what led you to Ram from intelligence to being in this company? How did it sort of your co-founders and all you guys met to decide to do something on those lines?
For Pravaig, I never decided. It's the two others who put me inside. So me, basically, I don't have a background in cars. I don't have a background in deep tech. I understand tech, but mostly the IT part, not really the mechanical part or the electronics.
So your role is you
Sorry?
gather intelligence from the competitors, I imagine.
Not really, because in India we don't really have competitors, so I'm not even useful there, honestly. I would say no, it's just Siddharth Bagri and Dhaval Kular, who like are very good friends for a long time. They started the company at the beginning, and then when we incorporating a company properly, I became a co-founder, and I'm managing the strategy. So yeah, in strategy you have a lot of things similar to what I learned before, but at the beginning it was more like network from foreign companies, even if the two others also have good, experience abroad. They studied in Hong Kong. They traveled a lot for business also. Yeah, it was more to bring some value in the network part with foreign companies, basically finding customers at the beginning. It was mostly that. Yeah, I joined the adventure, and it's very exciting. It's different from what I learned before, but it's also exciting to do something I'm not like trained for. I know especially that we are a lot in advanced products with a lot of deep tech inside. I start to be able to use some former, skills.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So
And I still use the skills I learned before in the foundation I have. Yeah.
understood. So your office is in Delhi or in some Gurgaon, Noida, somewhere else?
So basically, we have Pravaig, how we are structured. We are 350 people right now. We have a big R&D center in Bangalore, so not downtown Bangalore. We are not very far from the airport, where we develop all the products. And in front of this R&D center, we have a factory. And in the factory, we have a prototyping area. We have a big test lab for batteries, and we have a battery factory where we manufacture the batteries. And these batteries go in the cars, and they go. So we also do static batteries. We do much more batteries than what you can see on our website, in fact. And then we have an office in Delhi, in downtown Delhi, in South Delhi, and where we do all the marketing, sales, the link with the army, some finance. So nothing on the product. Like you won't make a product in downtown Delhi, but the rest is there in Delhi. And we have an office also in Singapore for marketing and some events. Yeah.
And
So we have three.
what is your role, Ram? Like, how does your day look like?
So we are three co-founders. So Siddharth is really the CEO. He's the person who runs the company. Dhaval is a CTO. So he makes the products. He's in charge of being sure all the products come on time with a good level of quality and they have innovation because we are a deep tech company. We always make products that have never been made before. And me, I have the easiest role, honestly. I do the strategy. So I manage, basically the partnerships, the lot of how you say that, some customers also, and basically where we are going and what we should focus on. The problem we have right now, it's when you're when you're a medium-sized company, not a very small startup of 10 people and not a huge company. One of the big things which is difficult to manage, it's cost of opportunity. You can do a lot of things. Honestly, tomorrow we could launch a scooty, we could do, a drone. We can do we have engineers in IT, electronics, mechanics. We have a facility. We can do any kind of deep tech product. Now, what do we do? And I can give you some examples. We made a product for the NATO forces some years ago, which was a portable batteries for special forces. And it's a very good product, but just it's a kind of product where you don't make a lot of money on it and you can sell 10, 10, 10 there and there. So it doesn't make much sense to focus on this product and try to develop it. So we didn't stop, but we are not pushing this product in particular and focusing on something more, valuable, I would say. So mostly my job is not to launch new projects, but to stop projects.
Yeah.
Otherwise we will go,
Control.
we'll be too spread out. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your core product as of now? Batteries?
So we have a lot of products. We have three verticals, I would say. One is we make vehicles. We are a car manufacturer. So we have our own product line, but also we are a car maker of car makers. We help other brands make cars. So you can come to us and you're a major brand in the world of cars from anywhere in the world. And you want to be electric. You don't have much knowledge in electric cars, or you want to make an electric car in a very, very short time, and we'll make an electric car for you. And then on the long run, we'll sell the battery to you. We won't teach these huge brands how to manufacture cars, but we can make the car. So it means, we'll make the powertrain, the battery, the electronics. We'll design everything, and then you have a car you can launch in the market. And then after, we can make the battery for you. So that's our first business. And then we make batteries. It's not automotive, so it can be batteries for solar farm. We started to export batteries abroad also for solar farms, for grid level management, for various applications for home. Also, we can have a battery for your house. And then our third pillar is AI. We do a lot of AI. So in automotive, you need a lot of AI. So we have a big AI lab also. And everything is deep tech. We always try to make everything in-house as much as possible, everything in India, and be at the cutting edge of the technology.
And for the car manufacturing, so who do you work with?
I cannot give the brands because that's one of the problems in the industry. When you make a car for another OEM, they don't want, your name to appear. You'll become, like a studio for them. But brands from Europe, from Asia. No Indian so far.
Yes, you understood. So okay, so it's like a full-fledged car you're saying, or just the frame, chassis, or how is it?
Basically, how it works is mostly the other OEMs. They don't come with an empty canvas to us because they already have factories. So they want to be able to make a car without changing too much what they have in their factory. Which means, most of the time we use a car which is already, in their product line, and we try to not change too much. For sure, you need to change the car because you will have a charging port. The battery will change a lot of things. The dynamics of the car will change. The brake system will change, the airbags, the way how they pop will change. So you still need to change a lot of things. Inside, you won't have, the gearbox. But we try to use as a foundation one of the existing car of the brand.
Understood. So then, Ram, moving forward now, what are your plans as a CSO? What are you planning? You're planning to trim down products, launch new products, expand into new territories, raise capital. What are those few milestones you're looking at? Can you hear me, Ram?
So for Yeah, it was just stopped for 2 seconds. So yeah, the plan is what I was talking about is to grow on these three verticals, to have more products here. We never raise really capital or anything. So we need to do a lot of basically products to fund the company. That's why we sell a lot of batteries, even if we don't advertise it a lot because it's less fancy than making cars. It's for bread and butter to sell batteries today, and it's an interesting market. That's why, for example, most of the brands who make electric cars, they try to take one chemistry and become super expert on one chemistry. You know, in batteries, you can use different type of chemistries. All of them have pro and cons. But us, we are very agnostic in terms of chemistry. We use all of them for different applications. So it made us very strong in terms of knowledge on batteries. We make, like LFP, CA, all types of chemistries are used in the company for different products. And other geographies, we are in discussion with 2 other countries, both are in Asia, to set up shop there, to start some operations there. But the headquarters will always be India for sure.
Understood. So tell us some more about these chemistries about battery I was not aware of. So what does it mean? Is it like a formation within the battery, or what are these different chemistry? What does it mean?
So basically, I will try to not be too technical. In a battery, you have multiple, parameters to make a good battery. So you need, for example, to have a good thermal system, good electronics. The software part is very important in a battery, how you manage your battery. The electric part, the frame of the battery is very important. All that is very important. But inside the battery, at the core, you have some, you have chemistry. It can be in different forms. In the car industry, mostly it's cylinders, like the battery you have in the remote of your TV, basically, but bigger. Or it's called prismatic. So it looks like a little box. It looks like a little book, basically, you put inside the battery. And inside this chemistry, you can use different metals, basically. You can use aluminium, you can use cobalt. Cobalt has a lot of issues in terms of where it comes from. You can use a lot of phosphates, a lot of things, in the chemistries. And it's like in video games. Some chemistry give you more power. Some chemistries are cheaper. Some chemistries are more safe. All of them have pros and cons. So according to the application, you will use different ones. So for example, we develop batteries for drones. India is very strong in drones. In a drone, you want to be able to pull a load very, very fast. So, in drones, you need a very, very high density of energy. In one, centimeter, I want to be able to have a lot of energy and I want a lot of power to be able to go fast. But if I make a battery for a solar farm, I just need, during at 7 a.m., there is a lot of sun, but no one wants energy in India at 7 a.m. in a solar farm. So I will store the battery and maybe I will unload this battery at 9 p.m. when everyone is home and cooking and wants energy. So for that, in a solar farm, I have a lot of space. I don't need a lot of power. It's slow. I want a very good price. That's what I will want. So we'll use a totally different types of chemistry for that.
So there are wide-ranging applications and different batteries which needs to be
Exactly, yeah.
manufactured. Understood.
And then on our side, also the thermal system will change, the electronics will change, everything will change. We do application-specific products. That's where we are strong.
And do you export also, or it's primarily for?
Yes. We got some articles in the press a few months ago. So we got our first order for Europe, for Greece, for solar farm batteries. In Greece, they have a lot of islands. So when you have islands, you're not connected to the grid. So you try to make your energy on the spot. In Greece, very sunny, so they have a lot of small solar projects. But the problem is the sun is just during the day. So they need batteries to store the extra sun energy during the day and use it during the night. So it's a good market for us. Yeah. And it's challenging because European regulation and everything is really, really tough.
And I think in Europe also they have the concept of cross-border energy flowing in real-time markets. So that sort of also thing happening.
Yeah. Yes, all the grids are connected, so they can do a lot of what we call load balancing across the continent. Yeah.
But do you think RAM is going 100% renewable is the solution? Because
No,
no.
not at all. The best energy in the world is nuclear by far. That's the only way to be green and have enough energy for everyone. Nuclear should be the foundation of every country in the world right now. And then renewable energy as a minority energy is very, very good. Hydro is excellent, especially in countries like India. We have the Himalayas. hydropower is excellent. And then solar, if it's a sunny country like India, makes a lot of sense. But you cannot have all your energy in solar, like 20%, 30% is doable. But you need a foundation of nuclear energy.
But in like,
It's
for
the
example,
cleanest, safest energy.
yeah, but in US
Sorry?
they are going full renewable.
That's the problem of, I think, energy. You see, and it comes from someone who's doing batteries for solar farms and electric cars. The problem of ecology today, it became really like, how you call that, an ideology more than science. There is no good or bad technology. All of them have pros and cons. They have different costing. They have different structural impact. I always say that electric cars are fantastic. They are much more green than a petrol car. But if you can walk, it's better. You will never beat, like a cycle or, like just walking to go somewhere. So we should not be, like ideologists and trying to push a narrative. If you look at Germany, for example, they really felt inside this trap where they say, okay, we just make renewable energy. They were not able to achieve it. Now they are burning coal. They closed their nuclear power plants and now they are burning coal to produce energy. And the whole Europe is at risk, especially during this Ukraine-Russia
Yeah,
conflict because of the Germans, because they went ideologic, full, like the Green Party, like took over. And yeah, it's horrible.
the Green Party took over. Yeah, I mean they had some challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Russia. I think Russia was supplying oil. The what was that name of the pipeline? And it was cut
The gas, Nord Stream and everything, yeah. The
downstream.
gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then moving on, Ram, in terms of let's talk about non-business aspect also a little bit, since you have the intelligence background, and also what's happening with the current situation. A lot of wars happening in different parts of the world. How do you read that? How does someone process it
Uh,
as an individual, as a citizen?
I think there are not more wars than, like there are always wars. It's something that always happen in the world. And some have some media coverage. Ukraine has coverage. Gaza has coverage. But we know we have a conflict at our border in Myanmar. Conflicts are there in Somalia, in Ethiopia, in Congo. So there are conflicts all over the world. There is nothing really special these days about that. What is different from the last 20 years is the fact that the world becomes more and more multipolar. There are a lot of powers emerging in the world. I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about military and geopolitics. India being one of them for sure. So now you don't have two blocks like the Soviet and the American, for example. And even after the Cold War, it was still basically NATO and non-NATO, roughly. But now you have a lot of strong powers in the world. And I think the conflict really moved. No one can afford much to do open war, like with tanks and planes. Even if you look at Russia, it's not a full, like a strength conflict. Now where we are going towards is, like a lot of asymmetric warfare, economic warfare, stock market manipulation, cyber warfare, perception, change of narrative, destabilizations, political ingerence. That's what people use. It's much cheaper. The impact is higher, and you can go very, very far with it. And the French were experts about changing societies. If you know about the French theories and all that, they can go to your country, change how your citizens behave, and it's very, very dangerous. Yeah. And I think the problem in India is the fact that there are maybe 8 to 10 countries in the world where they have buildings, like buildings full of these guys, experts about destabilization. In India, we don't have that because we are a peaceful country. We don't try to. For sure, we are concerned about our borders, but if after our borders we are fine, like we just do regular diplomacy and we try to know a bit what happens, but that's it. We don't try to interfere with other countries, and I'm happy with that. I think India is a great country and we should be an example for the world. But it's it makes you weak because you don't know what will come at you. You don't know what will be the attack on you right now, and that's what I try to bring on the table. I have a foundation where basically we try to explain and train India to be more, like strong against foreign attacks.
So, what are the attacks India needs to be concerned about as of now?
I think the biggest attacks, I mean, what's very dangerous right now is perception, is the image of India is horrible. And many Indian people, they think, oh, but we have, like yoga and we have this and that. I'm sorry, yoga is Chinese. No, in terms of perception, people think it's from Nepal or China, not even from India. And we have a platform where I analyze every day with my team all the articles in the world mentioning India, and it's horrible. Most of the articles written about India are bad, and we made a platform called Kutniti.watch. It's free. You can go there. You see a map of the world, and every day you see by color, and it's very red. It's very bad. The image of India is horrible. And we are at the level of Somalia or countries at war, basically. And never anything good come from India. So if we do something good, no one will talk about it. I give you an example. Everyone was happy about the G20 last year in India. You think the rest of the world talk about it? No, no one cared. The coverage was zero. They just discussed that Joe Biden met, another head of state, and that's it. There was no coverage of that. But every time we have a small thing, like a small train accident, and it happens one every 2 years, we will have thousands of articles in the rest of the world mentioning that train accident. So there is a war against us to keep us low in terms of perception. And every time we do something good, so if we do something bad, we'll be attacked. But even if we do something good, we'll be attacked. I'll give you an example. We solved a problem of toilets in India. Indian government built a lot of toilets. It was good or bad, whatever, but they made an effort here. After the toilets were made, we got attacked that we have no toilets and we are people who basically do open defecation on a daily basis. These jokes against Indians. Same, India has a huge growth. We have a good economy and the economy of India is going well and everything. So how you attack that? You don't attack the growth, you attack the inequalities. You say, yes, you don't say poor people are becoming richer. You say the richer are becoming richer faster than the poor. So the inequality increase. And so India is just a land of inequalities. And we will always be stuck in this poor, not developed mindset. So you could think, okay, but what's the problem? We know our true value, what's the issue? The issue is we have no tourists in India. We are, we really have no tourists in India. If you look to any airport, you just see Indians. If you look to any fancy hotel or non-fancy hotel, you will see Indians. There is no tourism in India from outside. We have very few direct investments compared to the size of our economy today and the potential of its economy. No one wants to invest in India much. The people who do are Indians living in the Silicon Valley or in London and everything. And I think one of the issues in India is we consider the rest of the world being the Indians of London, the Indians of Canada and US or Australia. It's not the world. I grew up in France. There is no Indian much, over there. It's a very small community. So if you go in France, and you say you're Indian, people don't really know, they don't know anything about India. Ask anyone in the world to name one Indian CEO, one Indian company. They say Tata, they make small, very cheap cars. They make the very cheap cars. That's the only thing they do. No one knows about, who we are, what we do, anything. They know the American CEOs from Indian origin, but that's it. And so, yeah, it's difficult for tourism, for investment. If you're Indian abroad, it's difficult. And also, one thing in India is the fact that we like to see ourselves through the eyes of foreigners. Some countries like China or France or Japan, when a foreigner says, oh, you're like this or like that, they don't care. They say, I'm not interested in what you say. But in India, if someone sitting in New York says India is like this or like that, they'll start to say, yes, it's true, and they will entertain that person and they will, because they are respectful of, the vision of someone else. So it also impacts our own people, creating a narrative in our head, especially the young people.
Yeah.
And you can think, it's just, bad media or whatever, but I can tell you there are hundreds of people with a lot of money behind that.
Oh, really?
Because I know how it works.
So it's like a targeted attack in terms of to put India down or something of those lines. So it's a targeted attack in terms of to bring the India's perception.
Exactly. India, because India is a big threat to the equilibrium of the world. India is not a threat to the world because India is a peaceful country. But the model that India developed, which is to be a sovereign nation, independent, is a big problem. Everyone in the world wants the big powers in the world, they want the world to be aligned. They want to have, spheres where everyone is under a leader. And India is behind no one. So that's a big problem. Because of India, but also because it can give ideas to other nations, to Indonesia, to Nigeria, to Philippines, to Brazil, to become independent and not rely on anyone else.
So independence in terms of economic independence, you mean, or
sovereignty? India is trying to basically take the whole, what you call that? All the aspects of sovereignty and to be more sovereign there. So in India, we try to make semiconductors, we make batteries, we try to have a strong army. We try to have our own, to use our currency, the rupee, to do direct trade with the rupee. So we try to remove dependency wherever we can. For sure, not everything is good. If you look at big tech, we are still using old foreign technologies. So that's a challenge. But we are on that path, and many countries can be there. They totally rely on foreign nations for everything.
And when we are talking today, Ram, today is the election day in Delhi. So what is your take or analysis out of it, if you are following it?
Yeah, I follow it. After, honestly, I have nothing to. I'm no one to talk more about the elections there. The attacks we can see on the elections, how we are attacked, because that's where my value resides. I would say India has one thing which is not acceptable for the rest of the world. It's the largest democracy in the world. It's not the best democracy, but it's the largest. It's a very big country, and it's very difficult to have such a huge country and remain a democracy. And India cracked that. But some foreign powers don't want us to keep this title. So they are attacking India being not a democracy,
Why?
but being an autocratic, fascist government, everything, which is not the case because everyone uses the word fascist but don't know what is fascism. They have no clue what is fascism. Fascism doesn't exist in the world. It stopped in 1975. And so that's the attack we are facing because we don't want to be labeled as a democracy anymore.
But why?
Because how it works, if you want to destroy the perception of a country, each country has good things and bad things. So bad things, people understand it's bad. But every time you have something good, you can use the good thing to overshadow the bad thing. If you look at US, they have a bad gang culture, but they have, like a good soft power. They have Hollywood and the music and everything. So you say, yes, this is bad, but that's good. So then you start to be in a balance, perception. So in India, the attacks are not on the bad things, they are on the good things because they don't want us to have anything great in India. So the fact that we are a democracy is something great. And we can always use that against China, for example, say, yes, we are two big countries, but us, we have a democratic government. So that's why they want to attack that and say, yes, they have an election process, but behind there is no democracy. And it's funny because if it comes from Europe, for example, Europeans are not democracies. There is no democracy in Europe because of the European Union. It's a technocracy.
Wow, wow. Some deep analysis and very interesting one. It's very engaging to look and see here these perspectives. We don't get such guests often. It's the first time, right? So it's interesting to see and analyze the point of view. Wonderful. So then moving on, Ram. So what are your plans now in terms of for the company in next 5 years, 10 years? What are the milestones you guys want to achieve?
For Pravaig, so for Pravaig, I think we'll continue to grow. Hiring is a huge challenge because you want the best people in the world. And honestly, the whole company can be, summarized as its team. It's just the people in Pravaig who make Pravaig. And when you do something which is cutting edge and you do deep tech, it's difficult to hire people. It's not just hiring thousands of people like this. It's very difficult. We have been on, we traveled a lot in the US with Siddharth in the past few years to hire people from US who have experience in these American car companies. So we call it reverse brain drain. People are from Indian origin. They move to US after their education and they did an MBA in Stanford or MIT. Then they work for 7 years in these big American car companies who make electric cars. And then we bring them back. But also inside India, now there is a new generation of engineers they are very, very good. So our main focus is to hire people. After selling products and everything, that's we can manage. But having the good talents is the main challenge for us. And we won't grow faster than our bottleneck is the talent. Really, it's everything is about talent acquisition in our company, I would say. And then is to have a structure where we grow, but we are still able to give space and hair to our people to be able to develop new projects. Because we have a very, very low rate of success of projects in the company, and we are very proud of that. That means we try something new. If you do something and you're sure it will work, that means you're not really innovate. There is no innovation. So we launch a lot of projects, we try a lot of things, we fail a lot of things, we lose a lot of money trying something new. But when it works, it's fantastic. So we need, as we grow, to keep this culture of trying and failing and exploring new things there and there. For sure, AI is something it's one of the core things in the company where we can use AI. So when I say we have an AI lab, we have some commercial products, but most of the AI we do is just for ourselves. It's just you have a system in a car, you can use AI, develop an AI to optimize this subsystem. And if this AI makes you, like you have a 5% gain in this subsystem, it's fantastic. It's a great progress there. So it's not only using ChatGPT and making posts on Instagram with Midjourney. It's really to develop AIs in-house for all our applications. So yeah, I think that's the challenge. After that, it's to build a brand. And the problem we have in India is the fact that we don't have a brand culture like US or Europe. We like to do good enough products. India is not known for high-end products. We have very high-end products because they have a high-end, but the brand is not perceived as high-end.
Yeah.
Name anywhere in the world a high-end Indian brand, there is none. Like it doesn't exist. Even if you go to, if your auntie goes to a jeweler, she doesn't want to pay for a brand. The jewelry in India is incredible, but people just pay for the price of gold and a bit of work, and that's it. But if you go to Cartier, if you go to Van Cleef and Arpels, they'll take you 90% margin, and people are happy to pay 90% of the brand value. But in India, we are not able to crack that. There are few exceptions, but it's very difficult. So to become a high-end, because our cars are mostly premium high-end products, to build a high-end Indian brand, it's a big challenge. Especially for the rest of the world. That's why also the perception part start to connect. If you want to have high-end products, you need to have a high perception of your country. So yeah, that will be exciting, I would say.
It was such a pleasure, Ram, to talk to you and understand, because you bring such a wide, diverse experience and culminating into the company you're working in. For our listeners, Ram, what are the books you will recommend for if someone wants to, this intelligence aspect, or your favorite book from your entire career you have enjoyed reading? Any book recommendations from your side?
I think it's there. It's just there. There is one book which everyone should read. I mean, everything written by Kautilya is, I think, the Arthashastra is the most incredible book in India. And people, even in India, they learn Sun Tzu. Like they learn the Art of War of Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
But if you look at what he wrote, it's really, really interesting. And it also gives you a vibe about how were China and India in ancient time. Because in China, they used to make war with peasants. You give a stick to a peasant and you send the peasant to fight war against the next king. While in India, we already had a professional army. So I think this book is more relevant for India, where people are trained, I would say. And it's one of the most underrated book in the world for sure.
Which one was the first one you mentioned? I couldn't catch.
So only one book, the Arthashastra from like Kautilya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. Understood. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a ton, Ram, for your time. Such a pleasure. And anything you want to share from your side? This is your time.
I think my only advice in general is I've been somewhere else where people have resources and skills and knowledge on attacks, and India needs to be less naive.
True.
Being peaceful is great, being naive is not.
That is true. We are happy in our four walls,
Sorry, it cuts for a few seconds.
Yeah, so I'm saying we are happy within our four walls.
Yeah, and India it's an island. We have the largest mountain in the world and some ocean outside, which is a very comfortable position, and it's a great protection. But we need to understand that the attacks don't only come from the borders. There are other ways to attack a country, and that's what the biggest threat we are facing right now is not coming from the borders.
You mentioned about the price stock market manipulation. That is also some sort of attack which has happened in India.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it can happen. Honestly, today we don't have that much, but next year, I mean, the more we will try to leave the dollar, the more we will face these attacks for sure. It will be, and we became the fourth largest, stock marketplace in the world. So it will start to come, but they are less violent, I would say, than attack on perception. Yeah.
Understood. Awesome.
And manipulation of the society, touching the youth in India and changing their mind and make them more lazy and less interested by developing the country.
But that is also, isn't it true, Ram? Like most of the at least certain level of people within India, maybe upper middle class, the children are going outside to learn, and that's their first touch point. So they become like, I mean, westernized now in their
A bit, yes.
yeah.
A bit, yes. And that's also one challenge. For example, I can give you something no one ever talk in India is it's a huge trend to have for intelligence to have your young people going abroad to study. It's the case in India much more than in China, but we don't use it. If you go a young student in Russia or China or wherever, and you go travel abroad, the intelligence services of your country will really, really check you. They'll interview you every time you come back to your country, and they'll ask you who's in your class, who's doing what, who's sleeping with you. They'll start to gather information about that because the people who are in your class, Indians are full, in Stanford, MIT, Harvard, everywhere in the world, UK, Australia, Canada. But we don't do anything with that. Like the guys go study, comes back. We don't have any hook there. But most of the big countries in the world don't proceed like this. Like they gather a lot of information from that.
Oh, really?
From the students. Yeah, a lot.
Wow. So people are going
Yeah.
in different countries and they're like, tell me more.
Yeah, and 20 years after, when basically, like your classmate became, like a minister, which is the case if you study in Harvard or wherever, then you use the same person to say, hey, hi, how are you? It has been a long time. I'm dropping by, whatever, let's have lunch. And you have low-level agents everywhere in the world, but at very high level of interaction.
Oh, wow. This just blew my mind.
Yeah. No, that's a huge, like waste. We have something. Some countries can do it because they don't have these smart students going abroad. We have lakhs of them. We don't use them.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Even the prime minister is Indian origin in UK. I mean, what else can you expect?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the top CEOs, but same thing. If you look at all these CEOs, whatever, they don't work for India. They work for their country. They are very loyal for the person who give them their money, which is fine. I have nothing against that. But we have no leverage on them.
But that, I think, also gives us an advantage in terms of that. Maybe one of the reasons they are able to go into the positions because perception is
Absolutely. What you say is true. They would not give the same position to a very smart Chinese or Russian.
Yes.
Because they know at any time the government can go and say to them and say, you don't want your family to have issues in your, hometown. So you need to work with us. In India, we are a peaceful country. We won't do that.
Yes. So that is, so it's like a
Absolutely.
catch-22 situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
You can do it under the radar, like the Europeans.
Like the Europeans, yes.
They are in the good sweet spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Ram, for your time.
My pleasure. Namaskar. Take care of you.
Take care. Let me stop the recording.